I'd say most phones you look at now are pretty boring. You know, you've got iPhone, most Samsung phones, Google phones, but then you have the Z Flip. And one of the first phones I ever remember stopping and thinking and looking at and going, wow, that is cool, was that classic Motorola Razr. And Samsung are making people again stop, look and go wow. But I never really looked at the Galaxy Z Flip and thought, wow, that's a phone that I need to try, because I thought it was a bit expensive. But Samsung now may have turned a few heads. And the problem with foldable phones over the past couple of years is that they've been really expensive, always going over £1,000 and probably going over £1,500 as well. But the Z Flip 3 in the UK at the moment, £949, which means way more accessible to more people. So a really smart move, I think, by Samsung. We have to start though with the biggest improvement for me this year, and no, it is not that 1.9-inch outer display, because I still don't think that is perfect. But it is the fact that now, finally, we have a folding phone that is water resistant. I wasn't expecting Samsung to come out and say, hey, look at this, it's now a water resistant phone, because it's a folding phone. But I think that now this is the biggest improvement on last year's Z Flip 2. And yet it's only IPX8 water resistant, but that means it is not dust resistant. So if you have a very dusty pocket, it might be just time to wash those jeans. And talking of washing, the Flip 3 can withstand 30 minutes in 1.5 meters of fresh water. Emphasis on the fresh. But it is still pretty scary when your phone takes a dunk. Just doing it for this video, my heart was going very fast, and this was quite scary, but it survived. The Z Flip 3 has a pretty decent size 6.7-inch AMOLED display when opened up, and wow, I am a fan. The colours are lovely, and with that 120Hz screen scrolling through, it's as smooth as spreading butter on a crumpet. And I'm in the camp of that all flagship phones should have a 120Hz display in 2021, and iPhone, I am looking at you. Still, the scary part of the Z Flip though is the screen, and whilst it's better than the previous generations, I'm still a bit scared that something is going to pierce through. And I remember a few years ago I broke a screen in the Samsung store by just putting my fingernail through it, and now I have that weird overwhelming feeling of wanting to push my finger into the screen every single time I open it up, which is a weird feeling. I won't do it, but I do want to. The one thing though you can't get away from is that crease, which I think is here to stay for a while yet. And you do get used to that crease over time, and I've had it about a week and I'm just getting close to forgetting it's there, but I still know it's there. When watching anything though, that's when it pretty much disappears and fades into the background of what every other phone review you are watching. My biggest complaint though about that HDR10 screen is that the brightness just still doesn't do it for me. When trying to read anything, it makes it pretty difficult when you're in sunlight, and I know in the UK we don't get much, but that 1200 nits of brightness for some reason isn't very bright in direct sunlight. Now, it's time to talk about that second display, which is also AMOLED, and it's that tiny 1.9-inch screen, but it is huge compared to last year's. And I think without this outer display, it is pretty hard to use this phone. It's one of the main draws of the phone and makes it so important to actually make this usable day in, day out. You can take photos and videos using that front-facing screen, and you can swipe to change to video, and you can swipe to change to the other lens as well. Being able to see quick notifications and checking the time, and being able to add different widgets, like a stop clock, or you can change your song, or you can even take calls when the phone is closed. And being able to add little wallpapers to this makes it a little bit more fun. But I do have a big issue with that outer display, and it's that you can't do quick replies, or not that I've seen anyway. If a message comes in through messages or WhatsApp, I want to be able to do quick replies like you can on the Apple Watch, for example. But at the moment, you still have to actually open up the phone to reply to that message. And hopefully Samsung adds this in a software update, but we will wait and see. Talking of software, I'm going to admit it, I might actually finally be on board with One UI. It's taken Samsung a while, but I think they might finally have it down to what I've been looking for, and it's the closest thing and my favourite thing to stock Android. It's easy to use, you can find what you're looking for, even if the app icons do, for whatever reason, still annoy me slightly. And I suppose it's time to talk about what everyone wants to know about, always on phones, and that's the cameras. And the cameras on the Z Flip 3, they're not bad. The main cameras are a 12 megapixel wide and ultra wide, and that can deliver, first of all, some great video, and this was just me walking around home from work, and the stabilization is almost perfect. And when it comes to photos, it does a pretty decent job. Of course, this is a Samsung phone taking these photos, so you always have that slightly oversaturated image when you've actually snapped that photo. And sure, there are better cameras in phones that cost the same, or maybe even less, but if you were snapping away ones on one of these, I don't think at any point you'd be angry or disappointed with how any of the photos come out. For all the good things you get about this phone, there are some downsides as well, and one of the downsides is that this phone gets really hot when using it. The face unlock is almost useless in low light, and for me the volume buttons are just a little high to use comfortably. And then we look at the battery, and the 3300 mAh cell on this just doesn't quite last long enough. And then obviously you get the good things about it being a flip phone, and it's a flip phone. That's the good thing. Being able to flip this phone open and closed all the time just gives me something to play with, and that small form factor when it's actually closed is fantastic. This is the exact phone size that I've been looking for, but still with a 6.7-inch display. The Z Flip 3 is still a great experiment, and I still think it is just that, an experiment. We might be on Gen 3 of this type of phone, but you can get better phones for the same price. But this phone is fun, and one of the rare phones that I might actually keep. But at the end of the day, what do you want? A better phone at the same price, or do you want something that won't stop me in the street? Do you want someone to stop, look, and say, wow, this is a folding phone?